On this episode of the podcast, we are reacting to the WWE Draft, plus we are giving you our match predictions for WWE BackLash. All of that plus more on this episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast. Hit our music! What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Burning Hammer Podcast. I'm Mark Izzo, he is Dylan O'Brien, and we are your host of this fine program. And like you heard at the top, we're going over the WWE Draft and WWE BackLash match predictions. So without further ado, let's dive right into it, because this draft, it was definitely interesting to say the least. If you're watching, we have all of the current draft picks, and this draft has been getting, how do you say, a lot of heat, because people feel like there weren't too many massive changes, which I do tend to agree with. However, upon writing down everyone who switched brands, I kind of found out that more people switched than I initially thought, but B, kind of the rotation of things. So I'm going to get into everybody who sort of switched brands before we sort of talk about where everybody landed. So on SmackDown, these are all wrestlers who went from Raw who are now on SmackDown. So you've got Shinsuke Nakamura, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, DIY, Nia Jax, Andrade, Tegan Nox, and Giovanni Vinci. Those are all wrestlers who went from Raw to SmackDown. And then for NXT wrestlers who got called up and drafted to SmackDown, you have Blair Davenport, Carmelo Hayes, Baron Corbin, and Apollo Crews. So that was probably 8 or 9 wrestlers who switched from Raw to SmackDown. And so, upon doing that, I was like, all right, more people did switch brands than I initially thought. However, it does feel like we didn't get too many stars.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of major swaps. There was a few, but nothing too major. I feel like I feel like one of the biggest ones I would say is probably Damage Control to Raw. Was a pretty big one, just because that adds that takes because Damage Control itself is 4 legitimate singles competitors in the women's division. So that alone adds a whole other layer to stuff, because now we can get especially when Rhea comes back, you would assume she goes to Raw, because that's where she was, and that's where the title that she never lost was. But you would assume that she goes, and then gives just a whole fresh set of matchups over there on Raw now with just those 4 women alone, with Io, Dakota, and Bailey. Not Bailey. Ooh, sorry. Kabuki Warriors. But I'm really interested to see who they look to push into the spotlight of the Raw women's division, besides Becky and Liv, obviously, who seem to be are going to be the 2 mainstays in the division, that are probably going to hold it down in as far as the women's main event picture is concerned, especially while Rhea is out. But I'd be interested in who else is going to bump into. I mean, you would think Io, especially after just holding that title.
Gotta assume Io.
You would think that if they, depending on what happens here, I would assume that she's probably the favorite to be the challenger, the next challenger after the Becky and Liv thing is. maybe not, but it seemed like they had a little bit of a kind of interaction on Raw. So Damage Control is definitely one of the bigger additions to Raw. As along with Braun Breaker, definitely was a huge add to Raw.
Yeah, so for Raw, the wrestlers that went from SmackDown to Raw is Damage Control, like you said, LWO, Final Testament, New Catch Republic, and then Braun Strowman made his return. I'm not sure if he was on Raw or SmackDown before, but he's on Raw now. And then
He's been out for so long, regardless.
Yeah. In terms of NXT, Ilya Dragunov, Lyra Valkyria, Braun Breaker,
Lyra Valkyria.
Kiana James, Dijak, and Odyssey Jones drafted yet again. So Raw is seems like they got a lot of firepower.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Dijak got called up to Raw. That's a huge NXT call up. He doesn't have anything left to do in NXT, and he could be a really fun addition to the Raw roster. I feel like.
Yeah, so and it's like, I mean, Raw has a lot.
No, go ahead.
Raw has like a lot of like very interesting additions.
They have a lot of
Breaker, Ilya.
They have a ton
good people.
They have a ton of upper mid carders that are ready to kind of get elevated to that main event scene with guys like, which is, I mean, I know Braun Breaker hasn't been on the main roster too long, but I would already consider him an upper mid carder. Just at the way they're booking him and at the way he's been booked in NXT. Obviously, we've had people come on and get booked in dominant ways, and then we just never see them again. They're only they're only Monday Night Raw, it seems. Monday Night Raw, it seems. The card tier guys that, and these are guys like they just haven't been put in that position yet in a main event situation. But you got Braun, who I'm just trying to look at this list here. Braun.
Yeah, so if you're listening on your audio streaming service, if you want to see all of the draft picks, you can head over to our YouTube channel at the Burning Hammer. We got
Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Ilya, I would even argue, can like get in that upper mid card tier. Dijak, like there's a lot of really fun new feuds to happen on Raw. I think one potential feud that could be really fun is Sami Zayn and Dijak.
Yeah, that would be sick. Especially after he took down Gunther, you've got someone else who's just like a very imposing figure.
Yeah.
In Dijak. I feel like Sheamus is going to kind of be like the person who's going to be like the test for these wrestlers. I think if you want to see like how good you really are, like you're gonna have to go through Sheamus, because like Sheamus versus Ilya is going to be sick. Like I think he's gonna kind of like help push
these
like mid carders. No, but I think that could happen. So like I just feel like Sheamus could help like elevate a bunch of these guys, like Sheamus versus Dijak, Sheamus versus Ilya, Sheamus versus Tyler Bate. Like you've got a lot of great options.
I guess New Catch Republic technically switched over to Raw too.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Did you say them? You probably did. Oh, but I haven't mentioned them, but that'll be fun. The Raw tag team, the tag team divisions are one thing that did get shaken up a little bit. It like just as far as DIY switching over to SmackDown, which I think is a good situation for them, especially because they were in a weird thing with Awesome Truth because they like get along with them and are like friends with them. They're both big baby faces. You don't want to turn either of them heel. And you really just don't want to keep having DIY lose. So swapping them over to SmackDown was huge. I think, you got to think that we're going to get a DIY versus Theory and Waller feud. That seems like, like that will probably be at the top of the agenda as far as feuds over there in the tag team division. But you got New Catch Republic coming over to Raw, which is going to add a lot of fun. You got LWO coming over to Raw, which can add a lot of fun. And then you got Final Testament coming over to Raw as well. But I wanted to get your take on something real quick. So there was some like rumors online that of Ilya Dragunov potentially taking Giovanni Vinci's place in Imperium. So I have a few questions for you, Mark. I know you're a big fan of Imperium and you're a big fan of Ilya Dragunov. So first, how likely do you think there's any like truth to that? Do you think you think that's not happening?
0. Holding up a 0 for the listeners.
I don't think so either. I don't think it really makes sense.
Why?
Like that people are just people just want to do it because he's just like European, I think. I mean, like literally like him and Gunther they've never been
enemies.
They're enemy. Yeah, they're long-term
They're like
rivals.
bitter enemies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why so it doesn't really make sense.
Ilya's already like established himself as like a monster, like solo threat. So why is he going to then just like join him?
Agreed. But also, who knows? Who knows what'll happen?
I'll be very surprised if that happens.
Yeah, I would be pretty
disappointed.
I would be a little bummed. Yeah, I want to see Ilya on his own. I don't think he. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Ilya and Kaiser would be an insane tag team. That would be awesome, and I would definitely come around on it for sure. But I just like with this breakup in Imperium, I'm very interested to potentially see Kaiser do solo work, as well as I don't need to see Ilya in a tag team. I love Ilya on his own. What do you think happens to Vinci now? Because he gets drafted to SmackDown, which means it looks like they're taking him and putting him solo. Do you think there's any chance that he goes back to kind of like his NXT 2.0 character type thing?
Yeah, so that was something that I thought was pretty interesting because I was questioning why they did it. I think it's just because like they wanted to kind of give Ludwig that singles push. I think they could have still done it, even without kicking out Vinci.
Yeah,
I
mean, that's the thing.
I wish they didn't kick him out.
That's the thing that worries me is that I think this was about the Ludwig singles run, rather than anything to do with Vinci. And now I'm kind of worried that Vinci gets lost in the scuffle, I guess. But who knows? I mean, Triple H is obviously a big fan of Vinci. He brought him back, so hopefully they have some plans for him because he can go. He's no slouch, and his return has not given him the proper shine. He's hardly said anything.
That was the thing that for me, I feel like he never got off to like a good start upon his return, just based off of them just being like, you're not gonna say anything, and then literally having other wrestlers being like, why isn't this guy talking? Like I just thought it was odd before because it's not like he's not good on the mic. He's can handle himself on the mic. So I just thought it was always an odd call just to have this one guy who's just not going to say a single thing. That being said, I have faith in Triple H that he's not going to like just split someone up and then just like throw him to the curb. There's a lot of opportunity on SmackDown. There's a lot of talent on SmackDown. So I am excited to see it, but I am also a little worried that he could sort of just kind of be put on the back burner and like almost forgotten about. But yeah, no shot Ilya's getting to Imperium. If like, I don't know, I just feel like there's a better chance of like someone else trying to like join Imperium than like Ilya. Also, like, they just kicked out Vinci I'm assuming because they want to give Ludwig a singles run. Why
Yeah,
are they
that's my
going to
thing.
then add someone else to the group? Like that's what
Yeah.
I feel like doesn't make much sense. So, also just so you guys know, whenever you're listening to this, we are recording this on Wednesday, so this is going to come out on Friday before Backlash. So there are some talks that there may be some trades going on for the draft. So in case you're listening to this and be like, oh, that person's on that roster, like that's why we don't know about if any trades happened yet. So because we've been getting a lot of shit recently for being out or being a little behind on certain things, and people don't use their brains and just assume we're not keeping up with anything that's happening. So if someone does get traded, we don't know about it yet. But yeah, I mean,
definitely got to mention that Baron Corbin brought back up from NXT.
Hell yeah.
The Baron Corbin rebrand has been awesome. We are huge Baron Corbin fans over here at the Burning Hammer and have been for quite some time. So to see Baron Corbin get called back up, and I think he has the potential to do really, 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 really fun things, and really good things. And I hope that he gets the opportunity to do so. And I think he will.
I think he will too. I think that one of the things that's good with like the Triple H era is kind of like, if you like prove yourself, like he's gonna give you a chance. You know what I mean? It's something that I feel like he never really had like a really good like chance.
Dude, Logan Paul and Baron Corbin could be fun.
Yeah, dude, like that's a great feud. Like there's a lot of really good stuff that he could do, and I think that he could be someone who's like may not win another title, but he's always going to be like a staple for like SmackDown and for WWE moving forward. Kind of in like that Kevin Owens role. So I am very excited for him. I'm really excited for Carmelo Hayes. First round draft pick, wrestling Cody Rhodes in the main event, Friday Night SmackDown for the WWE Championship. So I think that really just speaks like about how highly they view him. And like, dude.
Yeah, I do think it was a non-title match, but regardless.
And like I was also interested too with like, I was kind of confused about trying to putting too much thought into the rounds and like the actual picks, because like I think CM Punk went in like the 4th round, and so I've kind of just like decided that like the rounds don't really matter too much, especially because like even Bronson Reed went late. I want to say like the 6th round of like, I think it was Monday Night Raw. But I think it's less like about what round you went. I think it matters more for like the younger people in NXT who are getting drafted. So I think that's where that'll kind of come into play, to where like down the line, Melo could just be like, I was a 1st round draft pick. Trick Williams could, if he gets drafted in the 1st round, I was a 1st round draft pick. So I that was another thing that I was a little bit confused on, but I've kind of just decided to not put too much thought into it. Also, I could be tripping, I could be mistaken, but is this the first time that we're calling Lashley and the Street Profits the Pride?
I believe this is the first official time that like WWE is recognizing them as the Pride.
Okay, because like
everyone's been calling them the Pride for a while.
Yeah, because the rumor got out, or the report, and then but like I don't know, like because I don't watch every second of every show, so I don't know if they like potentially did it. I don't think they did.
I don't think
I feel
they
like
did
they would have
either.
called them the Pride at Mania, which they didn't.
No,
so,
they didn't.
They're finally calling themselves the Pride, I'm pretty sure, for the first time. So I mean, listen, I'm excited. I'm trying to not put like too many expectations going in for this draft, because I feel like we always kind of just like get let down with the draft and how much they actually stick to it. So we'll see what happens with this. If anything, I trust Triple H to kind of like keep his word with certain things and whatnot. So I think they mostly just did it because the NFL draft, and it's kind of like a good time to do it. So I would hope that they kind of like stick with this, with like, if you have a wrestler getting called up from NXT down the line, I like how they've been having Pierce and Nick Aldis trying to like recruit them to get them to sign to their brand. Hopefully they keep up with that. Hopefully we actually get some trades instead of just like wrestlers appearing on shows. So I am excited. I am interested to see like how these wrestlers do in the future with their new shows and them getting caught up in that sort of stuff. So let's move on. All right, so let's move on to WWE Backlash. Our match predictions. Again, we're recording this. At the time of recording, there's only 5 matches. I feel like they're going to run with just 5 matches, considering we only have SmackDown left to go. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they do add another match. I just think they're in a bit of a tricky spot with the draft coming up, or with the draft that just happened, and then on Monday, the draft results will be put into place. So they're kind of in a weird spot with like feuds, and you can't really start that many things. You got to pick wrestlers who are on the same brand. So I don't think they're going to add any matches. What about you?
I don't think so either. I think they're going to roll with 5, especially at this point. SmackDown's like the day before.
Yeah,
Backlash.
I also
and is
don't
it pre-recorded? No, it's
SmackDown.
Not. Yeah, no, it's like, would it be pre-recorded? I know sometimes they are, like when they have to go overseas.
I figured it would be.
I'm not sure.
I haven't seen anything that said it was pre-recorded, but I usually just assume the SmackDown before they go overseas is kind of always just pre-recorded. But who knows? If you guys know, let us know in the comments down below. We both think they're going to stick with 5 matches. I also I just don't know what other match they would even add. Like it doesn't feel like.
I don't really know. Yeah, if there was any matches they add, it felt like they would have added them on Raw. Doesn't feel like they'll add anything on SmackDown.
So we're both going into this assuming they're going to run with 5 matches, and I think they're just going to let them cook. Let these wrestlers cook. And so let's kick off with the men's tag team match. You've got Kevin Owens and Randy Orton taking on Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. What is he calling his little team? What is Solo? MFT?
No, that's Tama Tonga's nickname is MFT.
Oh. I thought that was the name of like his group.
No. It's like
he's just calling him MFT.
Yeah, that's like Tama Tonga's nickname. It's MFT. I think it stands for like my feared Tonga or something. Or something.
What?
I don't know. It's like something.
I heard someone say that it's like my family tree.
Bro, yeah, but it's like, why would Tama Tonga's nickname be my family tree Tama Tonga? Well, you know what I mean? I promise you,
Tonga, my family tree.
I promise you, it's his nickname. But I'm equally as confused with you on what it means. But I know for sure it's Tama Tonga.
Okay, that's what I was confused, because I thought it was just like the bloodline's done and like Solo's just like this is us now.
Tama Tonga's nickname is MFT. He he was like Tama Tonga, my MFT or something. So I don't know. Whatever.
Interesting.
Maybe it stands for my family tree. It's weird. But it's definitely Tama Tonga's nickname. They'll probably, I feel like they might iron it out a little bit and make it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully they make it more understandable. But
we're just doing away with it. Not that you need to call them anything.
That is the match that we're getting. And let me say, I am very, very interested to see this match and see Tama Tonga in action, especially in a tag team match with Solo Sikoa, because Tama Tonga adds something. He adds another layer to the bloodline that I think a lot of people didn't realize, because Solo does have like that killer instinct and stuff, but Solo kind of has it in more of a I'll do what I need to do for this. I'll do whatever it takes for this family. Like, no matter what this family needs, you know what I mean? Like, so Solo will do anything for the family. Whereas Tama Tonga is more as more of like a psycho type, like he just is out for, he just likes to cause chaos and just like cause violence, which is like a really interesting take now, because it was a, you could almost in a way like think that that was the Solo Sikoa type. You could almost think that that was Solo until you see Tama Tonga, and it makes you realize that, oh, Solo really isn't like this like psycho, like crazy violent killer dude. He's almost like this stoic type, like he will get very violent, but it's like all in the name of his family and protecting his family and doing what he has to do for his family. Whereas in like Tama Tonga, it's just a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, it feels like Solo kind of still has like a conscience to where he's kind of weighing both sides of it. Where it's like,
exactly.
Tama Tonga's like, if you're like beat the shit out of this person, he's gonna be like, all right, and then he's just gonna like go and do it.
Exactly. So I would have to think that Solo and Tama Tonga take out a victory here.
Yeah. I can't see a world where they don't. I'm more interested in any shenanigans that happens. Involving
what are the odds we get a Jacob Fatu debut in this match?
That's obviously something that I feel like we're gonna kind of be saying for every segment with Solo and Tama moving forward. I don't know how. I don't think we get it now, because it doesn't. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't feel like the moment. If that makes sense.
No, I tend to agree.
Because what has Triple H taught us?
Be patient.
Be patient. So I think we're going to hold out on this Fatu debut, if we even are getting it. I know there are reports are out and stuff that he signed, but like again, those could all just be wrong. I will say something I noticed at least is that his matches with like GCW and stuff that he would normally tag with Zilla, Zilla's kind of wrestling Solo now. So I thought that was something that's kind of interesting.
Bro, I'm like, it's like 99% that he's signed. It's just a matter of like, when.
I'm just saying, there's a
no, I know, there's always, I know there's always a chance, always a chance.
So, do you think the Samoan Werewolf debuts?
I definitely think it's very possible. Just like in this match, we get his debut. But like you said, I think it almost feels a little bit too soon. We just got Tama Tonga's debut.
Yeah.
So it feels like they can push this off a little bit. And honestly, just like give them some more time. Like they waited, like the reports that Tama Tonga was signed came out a while ago. And then like to the point where I forgot about them. And then when he debuted, I was like, oh fuck, I forgot they like signed him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I forgot that was like a signing they made. So it makes you, and part of me thinks that that's because they were training him to wrestle on TV, which like definitely takes some time. So I'm sure that's gonna like take time in itself. When do you think is the most likely time that he debuts? I'll say this first off. Do you think it's more likely that he debuts in this match or during Jay's world title match?
Ooh. Jay's world title match. I like the sound of that. Because it does feel like there's going to be something with that, right? Like, I can't imagine Jay losing cleanly. Maybe Solo goes after him. I just think there's like, I don't know, like I feel like they're kind of, you're playing like a balance game right now, right? So it's like when you have Solo and Tama, and then you don't like, it's just like right now you just have Jimmy and you kind of just have Jay, but they haven't really come together yet. So I feel like once you get like Jimmy and Jay, then they're gonna be like, all right, you think that it's an even playing field, we're gonna throw in Jacob Fatu in there, and then the bloodline is going to have the numbers yet again. So I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I could like see Jacob Fatu not debuting until SummerSlam.
Yeah, I could see them. I also think, all right, so like I guess there's a chance that like the bloodline, as in Solo and Tama Tonga, are beating down Jay at Backlash, and then Jimmy comes out to help Jay. But that still feels like too soon for like the reunion, for the Jimmy and Jay reunion, doesn't it? Like it feels like that needs to happen later on down the like. It's like
It feels like
a month ago they were literally super kinging each other in the face 50 times
and
and
tackled each other
off the
through a
stage through a table. So it's like a month later. It doesn't seem like just because Jay's getting beat up would be the reason that Jimmy, even though
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think there is a chance it could, but I think like
I also think
you
they're
could just
playing on this Jimmy injury. Like I think Jimmy will potentially be off screen for a while.
yeah. I saw something that he actually is hurt.
I could see, yeah, maybe.
But I also think it's kind of just like I don't think he is, because I think that when they do come together, it's going to be a story of like we both are just getting beaten down by Solo and Tama like every week, like, and it's gonna be like a slowly like they're gonna see each other backstage. They're both gonna be wearing like bandages and shit.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of just going to like we'll have that moment. So I think we're gonna get it, but I think it's gonna be not for a little while. I think you just gotta let Solo and Tama sort of tear it up for a month or two or even 3, because I think I haven't seen the exact date for SummerSlam. I want to say it's late August, so I think we're like over 3 months away probably, which I still think.
Yeah. And I know the Saudi show is shortly after SummerSlam as well.
It's after SummerSlam?
Yeah, but it's like not long after. It's like 2 weeks after.
Yeah, so then that always kind of makes things interesting because, again, I think they're just going to really play this out because it should get played out. And so I think that, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if like nothing major happens in this match, but it's also like you're heading into this show with 5 matches. Like, sure, it could just be because of the draft and the tricky situation, but you're also like, all right, is Triple H going to give us a little something extra with this Solo and Tama tag team match? So we'll have to see. Who do you think's coming out on? Oh, we both said Solo and Tama are going to get the win.
So I was
here.
going to say we could probably just transition right into the other match we were talking about, which is Jay and Damian. Damian's first defense as world champion, and Jey Uso, the first overall pick to Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso,
yeah,
which was cool to see. So who do you think is taking the victory here?
So I think it's Damian Priest.
Yeah, it feels like definitely would be like an anticlimactic end to his run that just started. And also, Damian's been doing Damian's been doing great work since he got the belt. Like it's literally he immediately upped his game since he got that belt, which is how that should be. And yeah, he's doing it justice, man. Like so far, I think he's really looked great this last month. So I would really. Do you think it's a clean finish, or do you think Judgment Day helps him get the win?
Oof.
Because that's been a little like iffy too. You know what I mean? Like on him being like, I don't need your help.
I'm more interested in is like the shenanigans that is going to go on with this match, because it seems pretty straightforward. I think I'm more interested the clean win.
See, so that's the thing. I'm like, I could see them really wanting to give Damian a clean win, but giving Jay a clean loss is like, I understand it's to the champion, but in my head, I'm also like, maybe it has a thing where it's like, Damian's pissed that they've been trying to help him so much. Maybe they're trying to help him and Damian's pissed and it almost screws him, but then it ends up being the reason he went. Like the Judgment Day does end up helping him win, and it's kind of like a pro, like and it almost mends the fences a little bit for the time being, and we prolong that, like, because that split is coming, but we don't need to rush it. We can be like, all right, guys, you see, we're still good. We're still on the same page. You know what I mean? And
See,
we can.
that's
I think that would
interesting
be the best
because
idea. I think the best idea would be have Judgment Day help him to show, like, look, Damian, we do have your back. All right, man. Like, you
see,
do, like, what do you think?
that's interesting because I think that it's going to be something that's kind of the opposite of that, to where they come out and they still try to help Damian Priest, but he's just like, what are you doing? Like, get out of here. Like, I don't need you. Like, I don't want your help. But then they do still kind of like end up helping him with that. So that way you still kind of like have that friction within Judgment Day, because I don't think they're necessary. Like, I don't think they're going to like mend things fully and like anymore. I think there'll always kind of be like that little bit of friction within them, especially
Oh
with
yeah,
Rhea
totally.
gone and Dom being
totally.
hurt. So
Agreed. I definitely don't think they would be mended like well, you know what I mean? Like Damian would be pissed, you know what I mean? Still, but in the end, they'd be like, all right, he's still champion. Like, all right, he'd be like, he'd fist bump him. He'd be like, all right, hold up his title, whatever.
do you think it's something that could be like they help him without him really knowing? So like Jay's got all of the momentum, and then one of them is under the ring and just like clocks Jay with like brass knuckles when Jay's like about to win the match, and then they just like go and hide under the ring. So like Priest thinks that he won the match by himself.
Maybe. I really do. I really like the idea of them coming out, Damian being like, what the fuck? Why are you guys here? I told you not to. I told you I don't need your help. Blah, 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 blah. And then as he's like yelling at them, pissed off about that, Jay comes back into it. You know what I mean? And it almost costs Damian the match. And they're like, and Damian's like, and then a couple minutes later, Judgment Day does end up helping Damian get the win. So Damian's like, so they're like, look, we did help you win. You see? And he's like, all right, yeah, you helped me win, but you also almost made me lose. You know what I mean? Like, it's so we get a little bit of that just because, and I'm on board with Damian getting a clean win. I'm just not on board with Jay taking a clean loss. So it's like, it's so weird, you know?
Yeah. Is there any chance that Jay gets attacked pre-match, goes into it hurt?
Maybe. By the bloodline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think there's a chance.
I could see that happening, because then if you really don't want to get the Judgment Day involved, then that's kind of your out to not have Jay take a clean loss. But we're both taking Damian Priest here. Again, a lot of these kind of feel like slam dunks. So
Backlash
I don't know,
usually is an easier prediction.
because they're always in like a weird spot.
A lot of new champions, a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, it's always a lot of, yeah, it's always the, so next up, what do we got?
Let's get into the women's tag team match, because this one I think we're both going to agree on. But you've got the Kabuki Warriors defending their titles against none other than Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, just like Dillon predicted, because we're always on top. I'm feeling pretty good that Jade and Bianca are going to win this match. What about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling very confident, honestly, that Jade and Bianca are going to win. Maybe they push this story on a little bit longer, but no, they can't. They're on different brands. I would say probably Jade and Bianca win. The only thing that has me like on the fence is that I do think it makes a lot more sense for the women's tag titles to be on Raw, being that it's a 3-hour show, and they have which means they just have a larger women's division. But I don't know. I think I think I'm talking myself out of it. But it's Bianca and Jade, dude. They gotta, like, not that they have. I think, listen, putting the titles on them does something that people have been upset about since they took the titles off of Bailey and Sasha, which is, or no, Sasha and Naomi, which was that they have not been booked well, they've not been treated well. I mean, they really haven't been treated well since their inception.
Agreed.
But one thing above all else that putting the titles on, like we said, on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill does is it guarantees that they're going to be seen a lot, because Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair are both huge stars, and WWE has shown you that they view them as huge stars. So I think that's the way that this is going to go, and I'm really not that mad at it. It would kind of suck for Asuka and Kyrie, but also at the same time, I love them as singles competitors. They can go do their thing on Raw, and then we have a really awesome women's tag team in Jade and Bianca that can eventually break up and lead to an awesome feud. And everybody wanted like Jade versus Bianca this year at WrestleMania, but just imagine how much better that will be next year at WrestleMania after they were tag team champions together for 6 months, and then one of them turns on the other one, and then they have a build to next Mania with a real story behind it, not just Jade Cargill coming in and challenging Bianca Belair for no real reason.
Yeah, so I think that I'm feeling pretty confident that they're going to win, and I'm not too worried about, like, I get your point about that it would make more sense to have the women's tag titles on Raw because it's a 3-hour show. However, I still feel pretty confident we're getting a women's mid-card title at some point. So
yes,
I think
maybe that'll be what goes on Raw.
That would be on Raw, which would make sense. And I also just think, like, you're not really going to have Bianca and Jade lose. Like, obviously Dakota can get involved and stuff, but I just can't imagine you giving them a loss. And also, if they lose, what are they going to do on SmackDown?
Yeah.
Like, they'll just feud with people. Like, they're not going to feud with Bailey. So it's like, it makes the most sense. And I'm very excited for it. And it's kind of something that you predicted. So good on you, Dillon. So let's move on. Speaking of Bailey, we'll move on to the WWE Women's Championship match. You've got Bailey defending her title against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. I'm very excited for this match. I think this one could steal the show. I think that obviously
this could end up being
Tiffany has proven her star power and her potential very quickly after arriving on the scene. And Naomi's obviously very good in her own right. Bailey, newly crowned champion, very good. So these are just 3 really good women's wrestlers that are going to put on a clinic, and I'm very excited for it. I still think Bailey's going to win. I don't really think there's a good chance. I don't know if there's any chance that she loses this title. And I think this is more to just like establish Tiffany Stratton as kind of like a main event star. And it feels like she's a good person to win the women's Money in the Bank down the line, right? So I think that's something that they could have in store for her. But I'm very excited for this match. Dillon, who do you think is coming out on top?
Yeah, Bailey. I would be very, very shocked if Bailey doesn't retain here. I'm expecting Bailey to have a good run as champion, like a lengthy title run. I would hope so.
I think she holds it for over a year.
I agree. Like, I would hope till at least till next Mania. Like, if she loses it, I hope it's not until next Mania.
Agreed.
And in a situation where it's like her putting over like Tiffany Stratton next year at WrestleMania or something like that, or maybe Jade Cargill or something, like, you know what I mean, or situation. I think, but yeah, I think Bailey is definitely going to get the win here. I think a triple threat makes it a lot of fun. I think it's a good way to have Tiffany get involved in the main event picture too, kind of like weaseling her way in there. So I'm really excited, but yeah, Bailey's going to be my pick for sure.
All right, so let's move on to the men's WWE Championship match, the final match on the card. What's assuming is going to be the main event. I would say it's the one I'm most excited for, just because I think this is just going to hit every category that it's going to hit in terms of wrestling. You've got Cody Rhodes defending his title, his first defense against none other than the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. This is going to be a really, really good match. I think there's going to be a great story told. Two guys who sort of had a similar path. Obviously, AJ made his WWE debut the year that Cody got his release, and then Cody kind of went out and proved himself outside of WWE, kind of something that AJ was doing for his entire career. Both are highly decorated. I believe they're like two of the 4 people to hold the NWA title and the WWE title, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So obviously Cody's going to win here. I don't really think there's any questions about that. I'm hoping we get this feud, because AJ got drafted to SmackDown, I believe, still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope we can. I mean, we talked about it last week about if AJ or Cody got switched brands.
Gotta hope this
I think
isn't
they're
a
gonna
one
let
and
him
done.
go.
Yeah, gotta hope this isn't a one and done, and they get we get some more heat behind this feud. And this is the first of, which I'm hoping is at least 2 matches between the two.
I think, yeah, I feel pretty good that
if not at another pay-per-view, at least like give us a rematch on Raw or something. I mean, SmackDown, I guess.
I think they're gonna wrestle on a PLE. I think there's a good chance they get 3 matches out of this.
I think so
main
too.
Event the next 3 PLEs.
Dude, it would just be like, it's so like, this is a dream match in some ways. It's a match that we've never gotten before. Like, that's so crazy. And that's like what's so awesome, like we said about this Cody story with Roman finally being over. Like, we finally get to see Cody feud with other people and get to see Cody matches that we haven't seen. Like AJ Styles. Like, this is gonna be so awesome. But yeah, Cody is definitely getting the win here. That man is in for a very good run as champion. I would say he holds it till at least Mania next year. I'd be very surprised if he loses it.
How long do you think he holds it for?
I can see him losing it at next Mania. Depending on like who he goes up against.
Gunther.
Yeah, like if they want to book Gunther as like the next like mega heel, have him be Cody, you know what I mean? But I could also totally see Cody getting another win next year against like Randy, like them doing like Cody Randy next year and having Cody get the win over him. I would say I would be shocked if he loses it before next Mania.
I think there's no shot he loses.
Yeah, I would be
WrestleMania.
very, very shocked.
I feel like there's a really good chance that he holds it past WrestleMania too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a 1.5 year, potentially 2-year title run from Cody Rhodes here, just to kind of like made up for all of like the time that he didn't have in WWE for the past however many years. I think right now we're kind of like,
it all depends though, man. All depends what happens. You never know what can happen.
Yeah,
you never know.
I think
you never know what could happen 9 months from now. There could be a challenger where we're just like, dude, it's just maybe you should just put it on the guy. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the beautiful thing about wrestling, is that you do things and then you get immediate reactions and then you have to immediately respond. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that we get a say, as you saw in the main event of WrestleMania. The fans get a say if they make their voices heard. They get to have a say in what happens. So yeah, same.
Yeah. Do you have any other I think this one's pretty straightforward. match.
I think Cody and AJ. Cody and AJ. I hope. I think they're going crazy. I think they're going crazy. Dude, you know Cody. Cody.
They're gonna go for at least. That's gonna wrap up this episode. You can follow us on. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure. To listen to your podcast on any streaming service, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're on there. If you are listening wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to follow the show and or subscribe to it. It's completely free, and make sure to rate us and leave us a review. That is the best way for us to grow and to find new listeners. So for those of you that have already done that, thank you, and we are pretty much wherever you listen to your podcast. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up this episode. I'm Mark Izzo. He is Dylan O'Brien. And this has been another episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast. We'll catch you next week.
See ya.